From Kalbarri, the landscape surrounding the Coral Coast Highway flattens out. The dirt becomes a little redder and we take a left just past the famed Overlander Roadhouse into the World Heritage listed Shark Bay.
I've been coming up here since I was a little girl, and the excitement level always goes up a notch when the car turns onto this road. And take a look at that. You do not see that very often when you're headed north in WA. Water on my right-hand side.
Nor do you see what we're about to go looking for today out in that water, dugongs. There are less than 100,000 of them left in the world, and 10% of them live here in Shark Bay, feeding on the world's largest seagrass bed. And the best chance you have of finding them aboard this, the Aristocat 2. The name of this cruise is one of the most confident I've ever come across, the Perfect Nature Cruise. Is it? Well, I've only ever read positive reviews. I would hazard a guess, though, having been on here for a very brief period of time, that there are two other elements that could contribute to this moniker. The vessel itself, purpose-built for this type of cruising and wheelchair accessible, she's the creation of Greg Ridgely, who is in the process, after 27 years of running tours on Shark Bay, of handing over the reins to his kids, Liam and Jade, who've grown up on these waters, and they are element two. They've inherited their father's love of Shark Bay, sense of humour, special driving techniques, and, most importantly, his spotting abilities. And they're off to a good start, dolphins everywhere. And this is the only place in the world where you find a dolphin doing this, using a sea sponge to protect its nose. It's learned behaviour passed on from mother to daughter.
So it's just like when we go gardening, we put on gloves to protect ourselves from insects, from poisons, from splinters. It's the same kind of concept for these dolphins. They're just protecting their rostrum or their mouth when they're trying to find these fish. So it's a very, very unique thing to this area. It's only been documented right here in Shark Bay.
Today is certainly our lucky day. The shark goes out and we spot our first dugong swimming along peacefully by itself. And we discover the secret to why these creatures are able to minimise their time on the surface and avoid predators: circular breathing.
So the dugongs can actually do this with their two nostrils. They can use their nostrils independently of each other. So whilst one's blowing the air out, the other one's sucking it straight back in again to try and minimise their time on the surface.
Bearing in mind there is never any guarantee you will see dugongs. However, today, the Perfect Nature Cruise is on song.
Alrighty guys, so we've got a mother and calf out here to the left-hand side of us, about 3 o'clock. We'll go and approach these guys nice and quietly and keep them nice and calm. They look like they're having a bit of a snooze out here, so we should be able to just kind of cruise along with them.
The seagrass the dugongs eat is an amazing plant. Disturbingly, back in 2011, 25% of the seagrass in the bay was wiped out following a marine heatwave. The dugongs munch through 50 kilos a day, so the crew has been volunteering their time to undertake a massive seagrass restoration project. And it's not just the marine environment that will benefit from this massive undertaking.
Seagrass is 270% more effective at absorbing carbon than trees. So additionally, 1 square metre of seagrass creates 10 litres of oxygen a day, and we did have 4,000 kilometres. So then we got this hessian, and then my dad bought an industrial sewing machine, and he sewed the hessian into 1,600 of these sacks in the back shed. We then got these 1,600 sacks and filled them with 25 to 30 kilos of sand each using volunteers. We then shut down Aristocat for a week, cancelled all the tours, and come out here and laid 37 tonnes of these sacks off the back of Aristocat onto Witchbank. And then during the months of May, June, July, the seedlings we're trying to capture are called Amphibolus antarctica. So this is them here. So this is the fastest growing seagrass in Shark Bay. So during May, June, July, the seedlings come drifting across the bank. They'll hopefully get hooked into the hessian like that there, and then they begin to grow. Now this sack is made completely out of cocorus or jute, and it will degrade in about 18 months, and then we're left with a corn row of seagrass.
All the more reason to get on board. And when you've finished watching and learning and being entertained, it's time to cool off as we chase the sun home. And then the sails go up. You can take a shot at the helm. Did they deliver? Tour perfectly named.